What's going on? This is a little introduction video to a new YouTube page that I made this morning, and I don't really have much of a plan other than to document my carnivore journey, my way of eating carnivore. I've been on it 3 months. January 2nd turned 3 months. And tonight I am going to start, after I eat dinner, of course, I'm going to start an 86-hour fast. And I've never done that before. I've been intermittent fasting for about 24 hours. I just eat at night. So I just wanted to try it. I love the thought of cells getting repaired and stuff like that. I really don't know the science behind it, but I just kind of wanted to document it. So I love this thought of all the benefits you could get with it. So I'm going to start it, document it, and if it helps anybody. I mean, when I was going through carnivore the first couple weeks, finding like average Joes on YouTube helped me, just them documenting their journey, just like I'm going to try to do. It helped a lot more than seeing like 120-pound lean influencers like promoting like two $40 ribeyes a day or something, so it seemed like unimaginable. So maybe if I could do this and it'll help and stuff like that. So I'll just real quick, just because I can tend to talk quite a bit, I just started off and try to make it as quick as possible. So this is the crippled carnivore. Yeah. I'm 33 years old. I was in construction from my, late teens, and up until about 5-6 years ago, out of the blue, pretty much, I was diagnosed with a deteriorating disc disease. And I had a disc that was slipped so much. I didn't get injured or anything, but it was a disc that was slipped very bad. Took them a while dealing with the medical industry, which is a twilight zone of a revolving door. It took them a while just to even get me an MRI. Once they did, they said, you need a back surgery called a discectomy. And it was explained to me that a little tube is put in your back, just a very little incision, camera goes through, shaves down the disc that's sitting on the sciatic nerve that was giving me leg pains and just very, almost crippling at the time. So I got the surgery very close to a beach, and the doctor was like, most people that get this surgery, they can walk on the marsh tomorrow. And I'm like, man, this is great. I was traveling in construction at the time, so I'm like, I'll get back to work real quick, yeah. And I got off the table, and my back felt worse. My legs felt worse. Not only was I getting pain in my left leg, but I was feeling terrible, more pain. It was always more prominent in my left leg, but then it got worse in my right leg. It was terrible. Doctors didn't believe me that, they're thinking, well, we just fixed you. So about 3-4 months down the road, they finally give me another MRI, and then they see it, and they're like, that disc is completely detached from, I guess, this is just going by what they explained to me, detached from whatever area it was from. So I needed to do a spine fusion on me. So they went through the front and the back with numerous screws and, kind of both sides, more screws in the back. But after fighting with insurance, we got it done. Pretty much almost the same thing. Right after that, I wouldn't say it felt worse. Didn't get any better. Over time, it got worse, but for years, where I got it done was I dealt with those doctors for about a year, and they told me for years, your nerves aren't going to get back. You were hurt for so long, your nerves, it may take 2-3 years for your nerves to get better. So they wouldn't do anything. Even though I'm still hurt, they would just try to push medications, and eventually it got to the point where I couldn't take the opioids anymore. I've been on everything from Dilaudids to fentanyl, gastrology medicine, urology medicine, so much stuff. And it's just wasn't working. So I got off that. I eventually switched doctors because they weren't doing anything. I moved different states, completely different medical providers. Those doctors kind of wanted to do the same thing, but they started doing more things like cortisone shots and stuff in my back for the pain. Also, I didn't say before, the last surgery left me with permanent nerve damage, and my doctor considers it a botched surgery. So nobody was really believing me, and they're saying, get your nerves better, blah, blah, blah. Finally, like I said, the next one starts doing little things, epidurals, cortisone shots. I eventually have to switch there just because it was very expensive insurance. I switched. same doctors, new doctors, but wanting to do the same thing, and it was ridiculous. It got to the point where I was bedridden for 2023 to 2024, and in 2024, they told me I needed a neck surgery beforehand before I was bedridden, and it was like maybe a little bit of depression, but mostly because of the pain. I was pretty much bedridden, and 2024, I started going back to my nurse practitioner, the nurse practitioner of the spine doctor, and she was like, "This is your year. 2024 is your year. You'll get in physical therapy, blah blah blah." So I start doing all this stuff. I have bladder issues. I just so much stuff that a 29-year-old or however old I was at the time. I got it in 2021. I'm 33 now, but I never had those problems before this. So she said, "This is going to be your year." I start to move a little bit. I start walking, but my back starts bruising. My feet start bruising, and I'm doing very little walking, coming from a guy that was like shooting shotcrete on 2-foot wide berms that dropped off as like a cliff, and you're shooting 80 pounds on top of your head, shotcrete from a B-50 pump all day, to not even being able to walk was insane. So, so sure enough, kind of lost my train of thought here. So finally, I like I said, I start moving. I start pulling through even my feet bruising and all that stuff. Urology tells me your testosterone's so down, you need medicine. It's 128. You need clomiphene because they said I'm too young to get TRT. And I'm just going by what doctors say. I always listen to the fucking doctors. If I'd known, I wouldn't have gotten the surgery. But so sure enough, I can't afford the clomiphene. That was in the beginning of last year. He says, take the clomiphene, come back. I got a dynamics test to see what was going on with my bladder, all this stuff. Finally, I just recently go back and get my blood work done last month. It was 128 when it first got taken last January. He took it this month, and just because I've been on carnivore, I would assume, it's almost 500. It's like 472. And I'm like, what would have the clomiphene got me to, level wise? And he's like, probably about the same. I'm like, well, I told you I couldn't afford it. Nobody, the doctors, my whole point about this, telling you about this revolving door, the medical field is, I go through it. Last year, they keep pushing pills. I finally get off pills. I have an ulcer in my nose, and I got diagnosed with polyps, and my whole nose started caving in like a year. I had to wait almost even another year just for the appointment at the ENT. Diagnosed me with polyps. Eventually, a new doctor just says I have an ulcer up here and like scabbing. They tell me, oh, maybe you have weak tissue. I don't know why you have your nose is caving, but I had real bad headaches. And I was reading that book months ago, Good Energy by Casey Means, after I saw an interview with her and her brother on Tucker Carlson. And she's an ENT and described a lady that was having terrible migraines with the same exact, pretty much down almost to a T of the symptoms that I had, and sinusitis and all that stuff that I have. And she goes, I don't know why they didn't recommend a elimination migraine diet and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So finally reading her book, it just got down to the point where I was like, these doctors are fucked. I need to do something. My spine doctor was looking through my CT scan a couple months back, because I always have winding up with bruises. She was looking at my CT scan and go, you have arthritis everywhere and scoliosis, and you may have some kind of autoimmune thing, but never recommended anything, and then the doctor played dumb the other day at the urology, because I told him, I was like, man, I'm eating right. Nobody, I understand you're not a nutritionist, but nobody recommended any of this stuff. I told them numerous times I couldn't afford it. I called every compound clinic from here to Utah, and I couldn't afford the clomiphene. So, they play dumb. So I just want to document what I've gone through, obviously, like I said, what I'm going through tonight and going through this fast. I'm not going to eat. I'm going to eat tonight, and I won't eat again until Friday, but I want to document everything that I've gone through too, because the medical field, it's like, I can't even call a doctor's office without hearing like Rod Serling in my ear, like, you are about to enter a world. And it's so crazy. I can literally go into a hospital and go, I've been on every opioids from, Dilaudid to fentanyl. I don't want opioids. All right, well, let us know if you change your mind, and then won't give me an MRI. Like, oh, no, CT scan's fine. We're not worried about bleeding. We're not going to give you an MRI. Well, what if I slipped a disc? Yeah, what if you slipped a disc? Well, could you see it in the CT scan? No, sir, you can't. why can't I get an MRI? Why can't I finally got, this whole circle that I'm trying to explain. I finally get recommended for a stimulus surgery that I got 4 months ago, but I'm now getting the appointment that might only be a trial thing at first. I don't know. But they explained it to me as like an electronic stimulus implanted into my spine. So it sounds like a TENS unit basically into my spine. They were like, you'll have a remote, blah, blah, blah. Pretty sure I heard Hulk Hogan talk about it too. But my whole life changed with Carnivore. I got off everything. The ENT people told me don't take Tylenol because your migraines are going to get worse, but I was taking Tylenol for my back. I got off everything, the stuff they had me on. From gabapentin to tramadol, just everything. I was on Cialis for almost 2 years, year and a half. Nothing worked. Start eating carnivore for 2 weeks. I start, pinching tents in the morning. It's insane. Everything that I've ever, I always had alcohol, issues. I stopped that about 5 years ago. But I've always run from pain. And then all at once, months ago, about 4 or 5 months ago, I had to stop everything just because of something or another. And it was like, I almost couldn't function. My son lives with me now. It's like, I had to function, but I almost couldn't. So then Carnivore has really helped me just completely run towards that pain and not fucking run from it like I've been doing for 33 years. I've never felt better. Last year, I was 236 when I started physical therapy. After that, I walked briefly and didn't really do much. In October, I started the carnivore diet, October 2nd, and I started getting a lot more active, or at least trying. There's a lot of times that I can't due to my back, but I do as much as I can. When I started that, I was probably like, so I was 236 last year, and I started coming down, just being a little bit more active. And I'd say maybe about 220 in October. Hand to God. And sure enough, right now, I think I'm 170 or a little under 170. And I cheated on Thanksgiving. I cheated with food and a very tiny bit of dessert. And then around Christmas time, I cheated with food and a fuckload of dessert. That put me up to set me back. So I started intermittent fasting and I felt great. So then I hear about this, Dana White's like 86-hour fast. And I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'll do it. I'm still not sure I know what a carb is. I just know it's not good and I'm not going to eat it, So I feel like Seth Rogen from that movie, This Is the End. Like, that's a gluten. You shouldn't eat it. Oh, that's a gluten. And then Jay Baruchel's like, somebody just told you gluten's bad. And you're just like, I shouldn't eat gluten. That's basically it. I got to the point where I read that good energy book and it almost made me feel schizophrenic. How do you get through this world? How do you advocate for yourself in every company that's made to roll over you at any chance that it gets? I almost started sounding like Alex Jones, like, there's microplastics. They're making the frogs gay. I'll eat my neighbors. I'll fucking eat my neighbors. It got so paranoid. So then I just thought, what's the purest thing to do? And then I just keep seeing, people like, Sean Baker and Ken Berry and stuff like that are carnivores. And they're just like, even if you can't afford it, do this, do that, all this stuff. And like I said, average Joes that I've followed and stuff over time that have just been, just like me, just trying to document their journey. And it saved my life. It fucking saved my life. I'm going to get on the scale real quick on this because I've already been talking for almost 15 minutes. So I'm just going to document this real quick just so I can get it in before I start the fast. I don't think I can turn this over now after I started recording. I'll just have to do it like this and hope for the best. Hopefully my camera picked that up. The journey starts tonight.